The deepest wounds don't come from enemies, they come from those who sit closest. President Ibrahim Traoré believed he was steering Burkina Faso toward freedom. He had taken bold steps reclaiming the nation's wealth, expelling foreign forces, giving the people their dignity back. But while he was building a future, betrayal was already sitting at his table. This is not just a story of politics. It is the story of a storm that began with whispers and ended in thunder. It was a quiet night in Ouagadougou. Too quiet. President Ibrahim stood at the palace window, sensing something was wrong. He couldn't explain it, but in his chest, he felt a disturbance like the calm before a storm. Lately, things hadn't been adding up. Military missions were failing. Confidential movements were being anticipated. It was too precise to be coincidence. Someone from the inside was feeding information to the outside. And worse, he knew the traitor wasn't far. They were close. Traoré had made powerful enemies. He had stood up for his country and refused to be a puppet. And those who once pulled the strings were angry. They wanted the old order back, where foreign hands ruled local lands. So, they worked in silence. They bought loyalty. They whispered in the ears of insiders. But then a message came. Captain Nabazongo, a young officer monitoring radio signals in the north, intercepted something strange. It looked like an agricultural report, but hidden inside were military maps, locations, and sensitive plans. Details that only the president's inner circle should have known. That night, President Ibrahim Traoré called a midnight meeting. No phones, no outsiders, just a few trusted men in a sealed room. Zongo placed the documents on the table. Everyone leaned in. One name sat at the top of the leak. Colonel Ouattara, a man who had once taken a bullet for Ibrahim, a man who laughed with him at family gatherings, a brother, now a traitor. Ibrahim didn't yell. He didn't rage. He whispered, "No arrests, not yet." He gave a simple order. We watch, we follow, we find the nest. For days, the president carried on as normal. Speeches, public events, handshakes. But every second, his eyes were on Ouattara. Behind the scenes, Captain Zongo's team tracked the colonel's every move. And one night, it happened. Ouattara slipped out of the palace. Alone. No driver. No guards. Same house. Same time. Each night. A place near the French embassy. A camera was planted. Then proof. Ouattara was caught on camera, handing a folder to two foreign agents. One American, one European. They gave him a black suitcase. Inside that folder, the president's private travel itinerary. Ibrahim watched the footage in silence. The man who once stood beside him in war was now selling him like a prize.
Still, he didn't act in anger.
He acted with purpose. He picked up the phone. It's time. Ouattara was summoned to a high-level meeting. He walked in, smiling. But there were no greetings, no laughter. Just soldiers and the president. President Ibrahim stood at the center, calm and solid. "You were my brother," he said. "Why?" No answer. Zongo opened the suitcase. Stacks of money. Surveillance gear. USB drive. You're not going to prison, Ibrahim said. You're going to help us stop them. Ouattara was detained, not tortured, not beaten, just left with silence, his guilt, and the weight of what he had done. After hours, he broke the silence. They promised me a house in Paris, a position in the UN after you were gone, he said. I believed them, but now I see they were just using me. A new plan was born. Using Ouattara's contacts, false information was leaked to foreign agents. Every lie was a trap. Every silence was strategy. Spies began disappearing. One deported. One unmasked in the media. Another simply vanished. Burkina Faso was no longer the prey. It had become the hunter. Then, the final phase began. A foreign agent named Reed contacted Ouattara for a secret meeting. The goal was clear: take the president out before the elections. President Ibrahim had heard enough. That night, an elite team surrounded the safe house. Inside, Ouattara wore a wire. The agents walked into the trap. Reed's words were recorded. It's time to finish him. That was the final proof. Moments later, the doors burst open. The agents were arrested on the spot. They screamed diplomacy. Not tonight, Zongo said. Tonight, you're just criminals. President Ibrahim walked in, alone. No gods. No fear. You think you've won? Reed spat. I didn't win, Ibrahim said. Burkina Faso did. The next day, the world woke up to headlines that shook capitals. Foreign spies captured in plot to overthrow Burkina government. Embassies fell silent. Diplomats scrambled. But it was too late. Ibrahim had not only exposed the plot, he had protected his nation without firing a single shot in the streets. That evening, he stood before the nation. No teleprompter. No grand stage. Just him, in his uniform. I speak not as your president, he said, but as your brother, your son, your soldier. He told the truth. They tried to steal our future, but they failed. He raised his right hand. I will never sell this country. Not for gold, not for power. Burkina Faso belongs to its people, and I will defend it with my life. From city centers to quiet villages, the nation roared with pride. The fire of betrayal had been turned into the flame of hope. Burkina Faso, wounded but awake, betrayed but unbroken, stood tall. And above it all, Ibrahim Traoré watched in silence on the palace roof. Not with pride, but with purpose. The lion was no longer sleeping. It was watching.